Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Hello and welcome, and thanks for joining me. I have a story that's very similar to one that Buddha told a long time ago about a tree spirit. So before we start, let's take some deep breaths, sitting up tall as we breathe in, and relaxing the shoulders as we breathe out. Notice the air going in our nose as we breathe in. And notice the air going out as we breathe out. Now I want to ask you a question. Have you ever said that you would do something and then you didn't do it? Okay, we're ready to start our story. It's called The Tree Spirit. There was once a man who was working very hard every day helping a farmer to grow vegetables, but the farmer didn't pay him much money. So the man didn't have enough money to buy what he needed for his family. They needed clothes and shoes and tools to repair the house. Day after day he worked so hard in the hot sun, but he earned so little money. One day when he was walking home from work, he noticed a big, beautiful tree. As he looked at the tree, he remembered that people in his village sometimes would ask for favors from tree spirits when they really wanted something good to happen to them, or especially when they needed help with a big problem, they would pray to a tree spirit. So they would find a big, beautiful old tree that they thought would have a wise old spirit in it, and they would pray to the spirit for things that they want, and they'd make a promise to do something special for the tree spirit in return for his blessings. Often they would promise to bring some animals as offerings. And then, if they later got what they prayed for, they would come back to the tree and fulfill their promise by bringing some animals to the tree, killing them, and burning them as offerings to thank the tree spirit. That was called animal sacrifice. The man thought, there must be a tree spirit in that tree. He can help me. So he said to the spirit, "Oh, dear tree spirit, I'm going to do an animal sacrifice for you. I'll offer a lot of animals to you if you would please bless me with a job that pays me enough money." After some time, the man got a good job in the village as a weaver, weaving cloth for new clothes to be sold. And he earned much more money than he made working for the vegetable farmer. The man thought, that tree spirit has granted my wish for a good job, and I'd promised him that I would sacrifice a lot of animals to him if he blessed me with a good job. He didn't forget his promise. So he went out to some farms and bought some goats and sheep and chickens, and then went out and gathered a big bunch of firewood. Then he loaded the animals and the firewood on a cart pulled by oxen and drove the cart to the beautiful old tree. He unloaded the firewood to make a fire where he could kill the animals and then put them in the fire as an animal sacrifice. He thought to himself, this is the right thing to do because I told the spirit I would do this. Suddenly he heard the leaves of the tree rustling in the wind. He saw light all around the tree and in the tree, and then he heard a deep, gentle voice. "Dear friend, you made a promise to me, and you must keep your promise, or else you will get a bad result. Some trouble will happen to you if you do not keep your word." It was the tree spirit. He said, "But if you do this animal sacrifice, it's very cruel. It causes terrible pain to those poor animals. So it too will bring a bad result, an even worse result than breaking your word. You will suffer in this life and in your future lives. So either way, whether you break your promise or do the animal sacrifice, you will suffer the bad results. The bad that you do comes back to you. The way to end your suffering is to stop doing and saying things that are harmful. When you make a promise that you can't keep, it's harmful because it's disappointing to the person who expected you to keep your word, who expected you to do as you said you would do." The man felt sorry that he'd planned to kill all those animals, and he wished that he'd not made a promise to do such a terrible thing. He didn't know that animal sacrifices were wrong. He just planned to do like other people do without really thinking about it. So he thought about what wrong things he should stop doing and what good things he could do. He then took all the animals that he was going to kill and instead gave them to friends who were poor and who needed chickens to provide eggs and goats to provide milk and sheep to provide wool. and he told everyone not to kill or harm any animals. Also, the man decided that he would never make promises or tell someone that he will do something without thinking carefully first whether it is a good thing to do and whether he can really do it. And that's the end of our story. And now I want to ask you some questions. What did the man do when he saw the big, beautiful tree? He prayed to the tree spirit, right? He prayed to get a job that pays him enough money, and in return he'd offer an animal sacrifice. And did he get his wish? Yes, he did. He got a job as a weaver. And what did he do then? He went back to the tree with the animals to offer as a sacrifice, right? And was the tree spirit happy with the animals that he brought? No, right? And why not? Because it's cruel to kill the animals, right? And what did the tree spirit teach about what happens when you break a promise? He taught that some trouble will happen to you, right? And what did the man decide that he would not do anymore? He decided that he would never say he will do something without first thinking if it's a good thing to do and whether he can really do it, right? And let's hear the words of what the Buddha said. The Buddha said, "A person should be watchful of his speech and control his mind well." Okay, let's talk about what we learned. The man in the story learned to watch his speech, that he shouldn't make a promise without thinking first. But did he say, "I promise"? No, he said, "I'm going to do an animal sacrifice, and I'll offer a lot of animals to you." So keeping your word or keeping a promise means saying to someone that you will do something and then making sure that you do it. You don't have to say the words, "I promise." For example, you might say, "I'll finish it tonight," or "I'll bring it tomorrow," or "I'm going to be there at 5 o'clock," or "I'm going to call you back." Or when someone asks us to do something, we'd say yes or okay. So it's not just when we say "I promise," but also when we say "I will" or "I'll," "I'm going to," or "yes," or even "okay." These are all promises, or people expect us to keep our word. And these words that we say have power because they make people react or do things dependent on our word. So if you say you're going to do something, others depend on you to do it. They expect you to do it. For example, they wait for you to arrive at the time that you said that you'd be there, or they don't bring what you said you would bring, or they plan according to what you said that you would do. So think for a moment, why do we even make promises? Usually we want to please others, we want them to trust that we will do something, we like to plan together, or we just agree to do something. Sometimes we make a trade. We say, "I'll do this if you will do that." Like, "I'll help you with your homework if you let me play with your dog." Sometimes we say that we'll do something so the other person does something that we want in return. Like the man in the story who promised to do an animal sacrifice if the tree spirit would give him a good job in return. So let's think about, how does a person feel if you tell him that you're going to do something and then you don't do it? The other person is disappointed, right? He expected you to do it and you didn't do it. Maybe he was happy at first that you offered to do it and he depended on you to do it, but if you don't keep your promise, then you let him down. He may get upset or even angry, or maybe he won't help you when you need him to help you. And then what? Both of you are unhappy. So if you often don't do what you say you're going to do, then others don't believe you. They won't trust what you say. So we should always do what we say we're going to do, and we should make our words match our actions. But if you keep your word, if you always do whatever you say you will do, then people will believe you. They can rely on you. They know that you will do it, and they know that you say what you really mean. So then they'll listen to you and they'll really respect you. So how can we avoid breaking our word? We should think carefully first before we make a promise, before we say "I will" or "I'll" or "I'm going to," or before we agree to do something by saying yes or okay. We should first think whether we'll be able to keep the promise. We should think first, is it a good thing to do? Can I really do it? Will my parents allow it? Am I sure I'll be able to do it? Do I have something else I have to do? And then, if we're not sure we can fulfill the promise, then we should avoid making a promise and instead just indicate our good intention to do it by saying, "I plan to," or "I expect to," or "maybe," or yes, if, or I hope to, or I'll try, or I think I can, or I think I'm going to, or I probably will, or I'll do my best. So let's think of some examples where we might say these things. For example, if someone asks you, can you come over tomorrow? And you're not sure, you can just say, I think so. Or if someone says, call me tonight, okay? You can say, okay, I'll try. Or if they ask, will you get me a new game for my birthday? You don't know that you can get the new game. You can say, I hope I can. Or if someone asks, when can you go bike riding with me? You can say, maybe on the weekend. Or if someone asks, will you have your room all cleaned up by 5 o'clock? You can say, I'll do my best. Or if they say, when will you have your homework done? And you can say, I think I'll have it done by 4 o'clock. Or if they ask, will you bring some cookies? You can say, maybe, if I can get them in time. Or if they ask, are you going to the game? And you're not really sure, you can say, probably, if my parents let me. Or if someone says, will you save me a seat at lunch? You can say, yes, if I can. Or if someone asks, will you help me with my homework? You can say, I'll try. If you're not sure, you can do it. Or if someone asks you, will you be there by 7 o'clock? You can say, I plan to. Or if someone asks, are you taking Courtney with you? You can say, I expect to. See? It's pretty easy to express our good intention without making a promise that we might not be able to keep. But we should always try to express our willingness to help someone. So that's the end of our lesson, and let's wish that all beings be happy and peaceful.